morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
As I see everyone that's here. As many of you know, Stephen was often recognized on his bike crisscrossing the city with a cup of Dunkin' Donuts coffee and a donut close at hand. So I wanted to invite everyone to join us on the driveway, first driveway down, after the ceremony for Dunkin' Donuts and Munchkins in Stephen's honor. When Stephen and I decided to marry, we considered several core values that we agreed to prioritize to build a life together. First, we would never accrue a lot of money. I had to think about that for about a week before I agreed, but then with the appreciation of our home, that threw the whole thing into a turmoil. Two, that we would take summers off to travel with our children, which was really wonderful until they both decided they wanted to have summer jobs. And three, that we would become a part of a larger community that would help us stay focused on the work of social justice and making this world a better place for our children and now our grandchildren. And today, here we are, all of us from one or more of our often overlapping communities. Thank you for coming to this moment of honoring Stephen. One thing that I said at Stephen's memorial service, I often repeat to myself as I think of him or us. Oh, you can't. Okay. Is everyone safe? It's just the grandchildren that we're making the world safe for. This is something that I said at the memorial service. It is a blessing to live with someone who is mostly happy with their life. Stephen allowed himself much appreciation for his, for his place in the world, even though he was very focused on what needed to be changed. I thought this morning as we gather to think of Stephen, I would read, I would read part of his last update, written in February 2014. What he says about his life here is also true for many of us. So I'm quoting now from Stephen. This was part of an update he entitled Reflections on the Journey, and this section was on transitions and continuity from Mozart to Pete Seeger. Pete Seeger died on January 27, 2014, the date of Mozart's birth in 1756. Though they worked in different genres and contexts, their music contained both joy and depth. Pete loved classical music, as it turns out, and Mozart drew often on his own folk traditions. Here is something from Pete Seeger's quite early morning. And when these fingers can strum no longer, pass the old guitar to a young one stronger. Sorry, there are some of us that sang this at my mother's memorial service, and it was also in Stephen's memorial service. And though it's darkest before the dawn, this thought keeps me moving on. Through all this world of joy and sorrow, we still can have singing tomorrows. I'm still quoting Stephen. For many in our generation, Pete Seeger has been an icon, in many ways like the iconic Dr. King became in the I Have a Dream speech years. But before the dangerous King who linked the three evils, racism, materialism, and militarism, in the journey that culminated in his Memphis sanitation workers campaign and two signal speeches, one at New York's Riverside Church, 1 year to the day before his assassination, and the last, the night before his death in Memphis. This moment in my own journey has caused me to reflect on the Pete behind the smiling banjo hootenanny icon. He was steady. He did his work as an ally first with his dear Toshi, who cut and cleared and raised children always with her own political fire burning at home. And then with generations of activists, Pete sang in the Occupy Wall Street at the age of 90 or so. Here's one reflection shared by friends that captures the heart of Pete Seeger's work well. From Jessie Drew. Quote, "It struck me that Pete Seeger embodied two of the most important characteristics I value in a revolutionary. He truly believed in the power of ordinary people to act for social change on a mass level, and his political ideas were lived in his daily life." Unquote. Linda and I and friends have been privileged to be alive and engage in 50 years that manifest the possibilities, frustrations, and importance of social change. Human rights at work, at home, and abroad. A tragically late awakening to the need to live modestly with the earth, to care for it rather than steal from it. The emergence of what Kristen Lavin calls sensitive New Age guys, though, who easily are lampooned, have created new models for young boys. An awareness of the 99% and of our common values across race and class. An African-American president who has wrestled even in his shortcomings with issues of equity, inclusion, and even though we want more, a foreign policy built on cooperation rather than militarism. The clarity of Dr. King's three evils, racism, militarism, and materialism, as they impact all of us, and some clear visions for a way forward. The gift of being alive with Pete Seeger, Nelson Mandela, Dr. King, Rosa Parks, Bill Coffin, Salvador Allende, Aung San Suu Kyi, Leonard Bernstein, Dolores Huerta, and millions of unnamed activists whose daily work lifts and protects. Like Pete writes, we need to pass all of this on to young ones stronger. And that's how he ended the entry. Stephen didn't like to be the center of attention. As a matter of fact, he had numerous ways to avoid such an event. Most of all, he wanted the attention to be on the broader community. He had a commitment to nurture and support the youth of today to become activists for peace with justice. So, though this poll bears Stephen's name, I'm hoping that this corner across the street from the school that was both personally and professionally part of our lives, and the playground where we took our children and then our grandchildren, will become known as Peacemakers Corner, and that all of us might feel when we pass here that we are each a part of nurturing the creation of a more peaceable world. Today we are doing what Stephen wanted to do, to create spaces and reminders that being a peacemaker is a job that all of us should take on. I think my girls want to, his girls, our girls, wanted to say something.